Well, here we are at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine for the launch of the latest Lancet series, a new decade of vaccine. In a minute, we're going to interview the two leading authors, Professor Richard Moxon and Dr. Heidi Larson. Vaccines, you know, have saved a lot of lives over the last few years, but they could save a lot more.
We have got to get our act together in communicating the benefits of vaccines. We have to make our case, and we need to make it at multiple levels.
So let's start off by looking at the role of vaccines in global health. What impact have vaccines already had?
We've seen the reduction of many diseases, and some of these I can remember from my childhood. Polio, for example, though not completely eliminated, is virtually unheard of in many countries. We've had the elimination of smallpox. Diseases like diphtheria, tetanus, whooping cough have had huge impacts all over the world, and in some countries now the immunization has resulted in them essentially being diseases that are rare and sometimes not visible, if you will, to the public. So the list is pretty long, but what I think I wanted to emphasize is that in the next decade, which is what all this is about, we've got challenges to face with some of the major diseases which we have not been able to provide vaccines for. Examples being AIDS or human immunodeficiency virus, malaria with its more than 1 million deaths per year in Africa and other countries, TB, which surprisingly never went away and for which we've never had a satisfactory vaccine. Those are very specific diseases where we are hunting, researching new vaccines. But there's a whole swathe of respiratory tract, particularly the lower respiratory tract infections, and diarrheal diseases, where we've only just begun to make an impact. And actually those two, acute respiratory tract infections first, and then diarrheal diseases, are the two most punitive in terms of death and disability.
So you talk about some of the challenges you've faced, and in fact a new vaccine might cost $500 million to bring to market. But Heidi, the challenges you face aren't all financial, are they?
No, they're not all financial, and they're not all even in delivery. Some of them are just sheer public acceptance. Some of that has to do with understanding the benefits and the risks, and that's an important basic. But some of them have other reasons: political concerns, distrust of industry, distrust of the providers, a number of different reasons. Concerns about safety, basic concerns about safety, which I think we have to address. And I think we have to shift the whole paradigm of expert to consumer communication to be much more of a dialogue of listening and understanding the concerns.
And it's not even all about the science.
No, it's not. If it were just about the science, it would be more straightforward.
Now, Richard, you talk about the challenges. In your papers that you're releasing today, you have a call to action. Talk us through that.
Well, first of all, it's very clear these challenges require research and development which costs. And it's very important that we make the case that vaccines really can deliver. We have proof that they've done that in the past. And very important that we are able to convey the message that through research, through science, we can make even more realistic declines in death and disability from infectious diseases. They're still the most common cause of death in the world. This requires us to be advocates. To get funding, you have to have advocacy. And there is no doubt that we've got to go to the highest level to be able to support the kind of donations. Gates can't do it all, unfortunately. and nowhere close. Thirdly, it's very clear that we've got major challenges to allow all countries in the world to become owners of the vaccine commitment that they can make to their citizens. This is a very complex issue, and it's one in which obviously in many parts of the world governments are striving to find the funds to be able to do even the most elementary of things to support their citizens and to have a quality of life. But this ownership, this shouldering of responsibility is a very important part of the challenge that we have. And then finally, we've got to, I think, rethink, as Heidi has been indicating, our approaches to communicating. It is not simply a question of speaking clearly, loudly, and authoritatively. There is what I call a black box. As information comes in, it's processed, actions are taken. We need to know much more about what is going on. And this means doing research of many different kinds to find out what, in fact, are some of the ingredients that influence the output from the black box. I think up until now we have been rather conservative and constrained in the breadth of expertise that we have gone to. Heidi has a background as an anthropologist. I don't think we have understood just how important the lessons that anthropologists know can be in the context of vaccines. Often the reasons for distrust are historical. There are people who really know about the cognitive process, and I don't think we've engaged them. There are market experts who really know how, whether it's viewing numbers or sales, how to get messages across. And although those have been used sparingly, again, I don't think we've used that expertise enough. So many, many challenges on communication, which was the fourth point.